3 years after she adopted this baby, the birth dad was let out of jail, and she got a shocking call. It's December in South Carolina, and little Braeline Puckett is living happily with her brothers and sisters. She's been part of the daughter Dulcing family for 3 years. Their home is the only one she has ever known. Then, out of the blue, comes a shocking decision, one that could turn Puckett's life completely upside down. Tammy and Edward Dawson live in Rock Hill, a city in York County, South Carolina. The pair have long been foster parents, providing a loving home for a number of children over the years. So when they heard about a baby in need of a new family, they didn't hesitate to. That meant that the DSS needed to find another home for the two girls. And as contracted foster carers for the organization, the Dawsons seemed like the perfect choice. After all, they were already providing a loving family for 6 kids, including 3 who had previously come there as foster children. Soon, Tammy and Edward welcomed Braelyn and McKenna into their family, and after a while, the sisters' biological mother came to visit the Dawsons' home. According to Tammy and Edward, Smith was pleased with how happy and settled Braelyn seemed. Indeed, apparently, she had asked the couple if they would be willing to adopt the girl. The Dawsons were keen to give Braelyn a permanent home. However, they had some even more pressing concerns. Shockingly, the little girl was suffering from a condition known as deformation asymmetrical brachycephaly, a deformity in her skull. This deformity meant that Braelyn urgently required medical treatment. Without it, she could have suffered adverse effects to her brain that would last for the rest of her life. And as her first birthday loomed closer, the Dawsons knew they were running out of time. When a baby is less than a year old, their skull is still growing rapidly, and deformities like Braelyn's are easier to correct. But even though they were up against the clock, the Dustings were unable to pay for Braelyn's medical care. The reason? Simply because they were foster parents. Furthermore, the insurance provided by the DSS did not cover the treatment. Tammy and Edward knew that the best way to ensure Braelyn's long-term health was to push for legal guardianship of the girl, and eventually they gained joint custody and were able to pay for Braelyn's treatment. Still, although the little girl subsequently recovered from her condition, this was just the start of an ongoing battle that would see the family in and out of court for the next 4 years. Unfortunately, Braelyn's situation was further complicated by the fact that her biological father, Andrew Jack Mayers, was still around. In fact, he was in prison in Virginia, serving time for fraud, contempt of court, and breaching the terms of his probation. At any rate, after several court appearances, Judge Rachel Connex made what the Dowsing thought would be a final decision in September 2015. According to reports, she ruled to terminate Smith and Myers' parental rights. And apparently this order considered not just Tammy and Edward's ability to provide a suitable home for Braelyn, but also Mayers' seeming lack of interest in the young girl. In her report, Kinnett noted that Myers had failed to provide any financial support for Braelyn, despite being in a position to do so whilst incarcerated. Tammy and Edward also contend that Myers never tried to reach his daughter through them. Supposedly, he only ever posted one card over the course of the 3 birthdays that Braelyn spent with the Dulcites. So with Myers locked away and seemingly disinterested in his daughter, the path appeared clear for the Dowsings to officially adopt Braelyn. Indeed, Connex issued a final order of adoption notice, and a little girl returned to life with her adoptive family. For a while, too, they lived a normal, happy existence. But soon, everything was to change. In November 2016, Myers' prison sentence was up, and he wasn't happy to find out that another family had adopted his daughter. So, with the backing of Braelyn's biological grandmother, Myers contested against the court's adoption order 1 month later. Then the battle for Braelyn went to court once more. Melinda Butler, Myers' attorney, argued that during the 2015 adoption hearing, her client did not have the representation he should have done. He was never in court, she said in a February 2017 interview with Fox News. He was never allowed to come. Mr. Myers has been committed to being a father to his daughter from the womb, Butler continued. He remains absolutely committed and his family supports him 100%. Shockingly this time, the judge on the appeal case seemed to agree. Indeed, the appellate court judge ruled against the previous decision that the Dolphins could adopt Braylon without Meyers' consent, apparently finding no evidence to support the claim that Meyers had neglected Braylon. The court instead set aside the original adoption order. As a result, Braylon's future was hanging in the balance once more. The Daunting were dismayed, believing that the decision failed to take into account the most important thing, the well-being of Beyond, who is now approaching her 4th birthday. "This is not right," they wrote on a website dedicated to the girl's future. Not even considering Braylon's rights and best interest, not even considering her attachment with us, with her biological sister, who is in our home. The Dolphins fear that the case could set a dangerous precedent of undermining the finality of adoption. Some, however, have expressed concern that Meyers was not adequately consulted over the adoption and have criticized the Dolphins' somewhat public handling of the case, including their Save Braylon website and Facebook page. Currently, the Dossings are appealing the court's decision, and an online petition to keep Braille in their home has received more than 100 signatures. Meanwhile, the little girl continues to stay with Tammy and Edward as all parties await a final decision. Whatever the future holds for Braylon, the case may well have lasting ramifications for families on both sides of the adoption debate.